In the previous two sections of this module, we discussed the three training accomplishments, the role of an effective trainer, and the core competencies that trainers share. In this, the third of our sections on Module 2 of Certified Trainer Training here at the ASU Help Center, we will be discussing the Instructor Triangle and the learning environment. Efficient and effective instructors all have certain qualities in common. These qualities provide a list of ideal traits towards which you should work towards as an instructor. Each of these traits belong in one of three broad categories: knowledge, ability, and personality. Together, these three categories contain the professional qualities of an effective and efficient trainer. You must have many types of knowledge to be both efficient and effective as an instructor. First, you must be thoroughly familiar with the subject you will be teaching. Imparting your knowledge to others will bring you both your greatest challenges and your greatest rewards as an instructor. The focus of training is to prepare individuals to perform the duties of the job to which they will be assigned. Your challenge is to help students learn, to lead them in gaining the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that will make them successful. As a trainer, you should have two basic types of ability: leadership and instructional. Some individuals are said to possess natural abilities, that is, they are born instructors or born leaders. While certain traits may set those people apart from others, they have probably also worked very hard at being born instructors and leaders. Instructional ability, along with leadership ability, is essential to your efficiency and effectiveness as an instructor. You must not only know the principles, methods, and techniques of instruction, you must also be able to apply them effectively. Your ability as an instructor should grow with experience. However, your ability will grow only if you make a conscious effort to improve. Research upon which training is based has defined a number of leadership skills, knowledge, and behaviors that distinguish superior leaders from average performers. Efficient and effective instructors display leadership skills such as planning and organizing, optimizing their use of resources, delegating authority, and monitoring progress and results. Their skillful use of influence helps them to persuade others, build teamwork, develop subordinates, and maintain self-control. In advising and counseling, they understand students' needs as well as create positive and realistic expectations. As an instructor, you will find that leadership by example takes on a particularly important significance. Everything you do is under scrutiny. Not only must you instruct in an efficient and effective manner, you must also serve as a role model in your conduct, attitude, and appearance. To be successful as an instructor, you must gain the respect of your participants by displaying a professional attitude towards others. Always show a sincere interest in all of your students. Remain consistently aware that students will be influenced by your behavior and the example you set both in and out of the training environment. Learning is a subjective matter, and each participant learns differently. The learning environment should be multifaceted to address different learning styles and approaches. Keep in mind 5 elements for an effective learning environment. Know the characteristics of your learning participants. Define session learning goals. Prepare training activities to support learning. Assess participant retention. And build confidence in participants. Know the characteristics of your learning participants. You should have an idea of why they are attending a training session. Are they a new employee to the Help Center? Are they adding a new skill to their ability? You should also know what motivates your participants to learn. So what makes good learners? Good learners are curious. They wonder about all sorts of things, often about things way beyond their areas of expertise. They love the discovery part of learning. Finding out about something they didn't know satisfies them for the moment, but their curiosity is addictive. Good learners pursue understanding diligently. A few things may come easy to learners, but most knowledge arrives through effort, and good learners are willing to put in the time. They search out information, sometimes aspiring to find out everything that is known about something. They read, analyze, and evaluate the information they've found. They talk with others, read more, study more, and carry around what they don't understand, thinking about it before they go to sleep, or at the gym, or on their way to work, and even sometimes when they should be listening to others. Good learners are persistent. They don't give up easily. Good learners recognize that a lot of learning isn't fun. That doesn't change how much they love learning. When understanding finally comes, when they get it, when all the pieces fit together, that is one special thrill. But the journey to understanding generally isn't all that exciting. Some learning tasks require boring repetition. Others, a mind-numbing attention to detail. Still others, periods of intense mental focus. Failure frightens good learners, but they know it's beneficial. It's a part of learning that offers special opportunities that aren't there when success comes quickly and without failure. In the presence of repeated failure and seeming futility, good learners carry on, confident that they'll figure it out. Good learners make knowledge their own. This is about making the new knowledge fit with what the learner already knows, not making it mean whatever the learner wants. Good learners change their knowledge structure in order to accommodate what they are learning. They use the new knowledge to tear down what's poorly constructed, to finish what's only partially built, and to create new additions. In the process, they build a bigger and better knowledge structure. It's not enough to just take in new knowledge. It has to make sense, to connect in meaningful ways with what the learner already knows. Good learners never run out of questions. There's always more to know. Good learners are never satisfied with how much they know about anything. Good learners share what they've learned. Knowledge is inert. Unless it is passed on, knowledge is lost. Good learners are teachers, committed to sharing with others what they've learned. They write about it and talk about it. Good learners can explain what they know in ways that make sense to others. They aren't trapped by specialized language. They can translate, paraphrase, and find examples that make what they know meaningful to other learners. They're connected to the knowledge passed on to them and committed to leaving what they've learned with others. Second, define session learning goals by adapting the content of training to the individual and collective needs of learners. Also identify specific content that targets performance issues. Your session learning goal should be created in such a way as to pull in past learning and provide new learning that will set participants up for future learning. In other words, it's all about learning building blocks. It's also important to develop your learning goals for the needs of your audience. Is the audience new or existing Help Center team members, for example? Also add learning goals that target specific gaps in learning or address issues of performance on activities. Prepare training activities that support learning by providing participants with opportunities to apply and practice the new skills they have learned and offering feedback to them for improvement. Practice is where people apply what they are learning. Jim Williams and Stephen Rosenbaum, authors of the book Learning Paths, describe a much too common problem in training adults in the workplace. The problem is that people are supposedly trained. Getting people to the state, or the time to proficiency, is the most significant contribution training can offer team members here at the Help Center. What Williams and Rosenbaum and many training researchers tell us is that the difference between inadequate performers and independently productive performers is the right type and amount of practice. How much practice do they need? A lot. Here are some of the reasons people need a lot of practice. First, people must connect what we are teaching with what they know. It isn't a simple matter. Next, human memory is slow and gets overloaded quickly. Overloading means little or no learning can happen. When bombarded with a lot of information, people forget most of it. The training methods that help people learn, remember, and maintain knowledge and skills are not used. We must use them. Research tells us the right type of practice has specific goals, matches the challenge level to current skill level and prior knowledge, offer adequate practice to meet the goals, and supplies the right kind of feedback. Training starts with specific and measurable goals. Training goals come not from content, but from what people need to be able to do on their job. Training that doesn't come from a job context is often just a content dump, and content dumps are poor ways to teach people. Unless we know what people do with the knowledge, we are unlikely to develop deep learning that helps people apply what they learn. Learning is cumulative and builds on what people already know. What we know and can do serve as a foundation or building blocks for learning new things. For people with less prior knowledge, we train them differently and start at a different point than with people with a lot of prior knowledge. How much practice is adequate? While analyzing the job context, we need to figure out the level of skill team members leaving training should have. How much practice will get them to that level? How will they maintain skills that are rarely used? How will they get adequate practice? We must realize that if team members don't immediately use what they learned will start to be forgotten. According to John Haiti, a noted educational researcher at the University of Melbourne, Australia, feedback is one of the top ways to improve learning outcomes. But interestingly, research also finds negative effects. What this means is the instructors must understand the factors that improve the effectiveness of feedback. Feedback has several roles to play during instruction, especially related to practice. These include confirming understanding when understanding is correct, correcting mistakes or misconceptions when understanding is incorrect, and closing the gap between what team members can do and what they should be able to do. That is, the learning objectives. Research has found that certain types of feedback can result in less effort and reduced learning. These include the following: trivial goals, too much praise, rewards, comparisons to others such as ranking, threats, and discouragement. Feedback research finds that praise and rewards hinder intrinsic, that is internal, motivation. Therefore, we should consider not using them. Instructional feedback should emphasize the role of learning and growth in knowledge and skills with time and effort. When people feel unsure or wrong, feedback should help them see how they will get back on track. In other words, feedback should have a support and learning focus rather than a performance at any cost focus. Anxiety about needing to perform while learning can make it harder to learn. Assess participants' retention of the training materials and concepts by testing their retention, role-playing steps in the process, and presenting simulations that test the ability of participants to determine problems and offer solutions. We know that much of the knowledge and skills learned during a training event is lost very quickly unless it is put into use straight away on a day-to-day basis. If training is to be effective, it has to be retained long enough to be taken into the workplace or real-life situations. We can maximize the chances of this in various ways. First, make sure the design of the training matches the needs that you as a trainer and the Help Center have identified. In this way, you should be able to ensure that there will be opportunities for participants to use the knowledge and skills acquired during the training event. Make sure that the training includes practical examples which reflect the actual work of the Help Center members. These can be descriptions of the work, case studies, or practical activities such as mock calls. Introducing activities into the training which encourages doing rather than just listening or speaking also encourages retention of the material. When you design handouts or other training materials for the participants, think about how the participant will use them after the training and try to ensure that they will still be comprehensible and useful even after the training is finished. If the training is changed after you deliver it for the first time, you will need to remember to update those who have already had the training. It is a good idea to put the training material on the Blackboard training site for the Help Center. Then you will be able to update the training material easily. It is no good to encourage participants to retain what they have learned if what you have delivered is not relevant to the learning outcomes or has not been delivered in a way that helps them to learn. So you need to find out how effective the training has been, and if it has not worked as well as you wanted, to change some aspect of it. There are different options for carrying out evaluations and gathering feedback. In spot checks during the training, you can find out how participants are doing on the training event by asking questions now and again. You could ask general questions like, what have you learned so far? Or more detailed ones about the content of the session, like, can you explain the process for logging a call? Simply observing the participants will also give you an idea of whether they are understanding what is going on and are finding the training material intelligible. You can also give out a reactionary survey straight after the training is finished. As the name implies, this kind of evaluation instrument gathers a participant's reaction to the training. It can be short or detailed, and ask a few questions or many. You could use this kind of questionnaire to ask participants whether the aims of the training have been met. To do that, you would need to make sure that you had set the aims of the training and then decided what questions you would ask the participants to try to establish whether your aims have been met. You'd also run group discussions on how the training went and ask the same question as in the reactionary survey. Having a group in the room means that you can drill down into their responses and get more information about why aspects of the training worked well and why some did not. Or you could focus on the aspects of the training that you personally were less confident about. Remember though, the opinions expressed by the small group may not be completely representative of the whole group of participants. You could also use a delayed questionnaire. It can be very useful to give participants a questionnaire sometime after the training, and ideally after they have put the new skills into practice, to ask whether the training was appropriate for their task and whether they have been able to put the training to use. You could also utilize a pre-training and post-training questionnaire. The delayed questionnaire could be combined with a pre-training questionnaire which asks the participants for their perception of how well prepared they are for their position at the Help Center. They can then be asked the same questions after training to see whether they feel more confident and better prepared for their role. If they do not, then something is not working and you need to think again about the learning outcomes of the training. These kinds of questionnaires are designed to help with your own developmental needs and with the development of the training event. If you are tempted to think the evaluation is a waste of time, remember that it will actually save you time and effort in the future. If you have chosen your learning outcomes carefully and delivered training effectively, your training should be effective. Create a culture of learning through building confidence in participants, allowing them to make mistakes and to be creative and experiment in their approach to activities and scenarios. Build confidence through repetition of new skills and providing participants with multiple opportunities to work on systems before being placed on the Help Center floor. Encourage failure, as most people learn more from mistakes than from successes. Build time for failure into your lesson plan and lead participants towards failure to learn how to properly use systems. Trial and error also leads to retention. Encourage participants to play with the systems and with scenarios and case studies to build confidence. Experimentation through role-playing allows participants to see how different people approach customer service calls differently, leading to a sharing of best practices and approaches. In the 3 training sessions of the second module of the Certified Trainer program, we covered the 3 training accomplishments, the role of an effective trainer, the core competencies of an effective trainer, the Instructor Triangle, and the learning environment. In Module 3, we will discuss how to overcome barriers to learning. Thank you for joining us for this session, and I look forward to seeing you in our next session.